Okay, the flat 5. We've talked about other weird chords. Here's the next one. It's a weird chord that we're going to discuss working into normality. So just using other chords that do belong to a home major key. I'm doing it this way with these chords, just introducing them suddenly and then just going away from them back to the normal stuff, because it's kind of, my idea is that like you can use any chord. There's always a way to use whatever chord, any chord, into whatever the context is. So can you just know what we think of as the basics, just like, okay, a major key is made up of 7 notes. You can build major and minor chords off of each one of those. So you end up with 7 chords that are the normal chords in a key, and that feels familiar. It's, most songs that use those chords. Now, can we just add in a new weird thing without knowing anything else? So we just know normal stuff, and then one weird thing that we're putting in. Can it work? Yes, it can. Even then, it can, and that's what I'm looking at. There's always more sophisticated ways of making things work, but I'm looking at kind of unsophisticated ways, like very, very simple ways of just introducing a weird thing, and then looking at like, okay, what normal thing would kind of, or combination of normal things could kind of make it work? Could it fit in with better than other ones, right? So in this case, we're talking about the flat 5 chord, which you could also think of as a sharp 4, right? Because the flat is just a little bit lower than, sharp is a little higher than, so you got a 4 chord in the key of C. Your 4 would be F, your 5 would be G, and right in between them would be the chord in question. We're going to call it a flat 5. It's right below 5, but it's also right above a 4, and it's equidistant between them. Okay, so, well, what's the easiest way to work it in? You can probably guess. Just go to one of those. It's right next to it. It's going to involve what I've already talked about is chromatic movement, which just means using every note instead of skipping notes to make, say, a major scale. When you play a major scale, see, I'm skipping certain notes in there. You're kind of being choosy about which notes to play and which to leave out. Whereas chromatically, you're basically not being choosy. You're just going to the one right next to it. And then the one right next to that. This is chromatic movement. Whether it's up or down, doesn't matter. And whether it's in a single note, creating a little chromatic melody, or whether it's in a whole chord progression, chromatic movement. Again, so that's what I'm talking about here. Even if, say, we can introduce the flat 5, because again, landing is more important than takeoff. You can jar the listener a little bit, but so long as you reassure them by where you go next, it's all right. They'll put up with it. So, just, to a degree, you can be more or less jarring depending on how you play it and, whether you massage it in or not. But we'll go from the 1 straight to the flat 5 to the 4 right below it. Back to the 1. 4's got a strong relationship to the 1. You don't need to make it any fancier than that, although you can, of course, always. Or you can go flat 5 up to the 5, which is the dominant, right? Again, you can make that even more of a stronger thing. You could make it a dominant 7, right? Or same with the 4. You can make it a minor 4. Great. Now, we could also just use it in between the 4 and the 5. So, easy, easy. Now, I haven't discussed rhythm at all, but just to begin to, I guess, we'll look at this case and just look at how rhythmic emphasis and de-emphasis completely changes the listening experience of the same chord progression. I spent an equal amount of time or beats on each one of those, and yeah, none was more. So, but now I'll change that. So we'll go. Very, very different, right? And much easier to work in, and just because it's so de-emphasized rhythmically. It's not falling on what you could think of as a downbeat, kind of the one that's emphasized, the one that you feel most. It's not there, but if you put it there, then it's emphasized rhythmically, right? So there's just an idea of the kind of power rhythm has to emphasize. You emphasize, make things sound weird, make things sound normal, make things, just change your feeling, the experience of the same chord progression, the same order of notes, but just by changing rhythmically, completely different musical experience. Now, what other things can we do other than chromatic movement to work in the flat 5? Well, you can go to the 2. You can go to anything, always, and find a way to make it work. If you play enough normal things after it in a row, eventually you'll get back to the 1 and it will feel normal, right? So you could go to the 6, which immediately that kind of works, but I would suggest it kind of feels like you're not in the... Does that feel like home? You're home now? No, it kind of felt like... So you might need to do a little more work to feel like that is home if you want to. Same with the 3, right? Actually, yeah, anyway. You can always go 3 or 4, and that's beautiful and reassuring, and you're back home. So that's another thing. I mean, it kind of works, Again, you can make it work. It's not a big deal. So, okay, but what's maybe an even easier on the ears option? I'd say going to the 2. Going to the 2 is nice. I like it. I like that as opposed to going from the flat 5 to the 4, moving chromatically down, there's a jump. So it's like you're jumping away from the weird chord to something else, which is minor and is definitely not the 1. You're not going to mistake it for the 1. But it has a strong enough relationship to the 1, and you can kind of just fall down from the 2 to the 1 in just a particular way that, in this case, is comfortable, is reassuring. I like it. And we could go even further. Let's go to a 5 first. So I am going from chromatically down from a 5 to a flat 5. But instead of to a 4, continuing the chromatic movement, I'm going to go 5, flat 5, 2, 1. So you've still got the chromatic melody here. But I like that little jump in the bass where you go from the flat 5 to the 2. Even though it's weird, it's kind of... I like something about the fact that you're jumping away from it and then going home instead of just sinking down to the 4. Anyway, you can go to the 2 and you can make it. That's one way you can make it work. Anything else? Yes. Briefly, I'll break my rule of not introducing weird things, and I will use another weird thing here, but it's something we've discussed already. It's got its own video, the minor 5. So just take a major 5 and make it minor. We do that by altering the 3rd of the chord. There's always that one note, the 3rd, that dictates, that gives the chord its nature as major or minor, right? So in this case of G's, this one here, we're going to lower it to make it a minor chord instead of a major chord. So, and we'll keep the flat 5 as a major as we've been playing it. And we'll go up to the minor 5. So check this. 1, flat 5, major, 5, minor. So what's going on there is kind of cool. Of course, there's the chromatic movement of the chord, but in the case of the 3rd, where's this note going to in the coming chord? Nowhere. It's staying the same because, again, you see what's going on? Do I have to explain it? you got all these notes. This is the same shape, everything. I'm not so if I shift it up one, all of those notes are going to be just a half step higher. But if I lower one in the higher chord, it's going to end up being the same note. And that's what's going on here with the third. And because the other two notes are shifting up and that one's kind of being left behind, you can kind of, in my mind, I think of it, you can think of it dramatically as kind of like a slingshot effect where the the thing you're holding is kind of being pushed forward, but I'm holding the elastic band back here and it's stretching, and then it wants to kind of shoot everything forward in what's coming. And where we're going to go is to the 2 from the minor 5, which if you go back to the video on the minor 5, or if you remember it, we discussed there why that works so well, going from the minor 5 to the 2. But that's what I'm going to do here with using this as a lead up to it, the flat 5. So I like that. And again, for more insight as to why it works the way it does, revisit the video on the minor 5. You can kind of do the reverse of that too, sort of. We'll go to the flat 5, but we'll make it a minor. And then we'll go to the 4 and keep it as a major. So there we're shifting everything down a half step, except we've pre-shifted this down a half step. So it's going to end up being the same note once again. Kind of cool. Kind of cool, right? Kind of nice also. Now, this kind of chromatic thing of moving one note and then moving the chord, or moving the whole chord but keeping that note back and then moving it, you can do that so much. Just like there's so many opportunities for doing that. No matter where you are, you could use any of even just in a normal 3-note chord, any of those notes could be doing that, and it can create an interesting dramatic effect. Excuse me. And it's cool. So this is just kind of an introduction to that. But you could say here's a way to stretch it out even further, doing the same kind of thing. 5 minor, flat 5 major, flat 5 minor, 4 major, 4 minor, 1, or any number of those. You don't have to do all of them, or you can go in the opposite direction. You don't have to go to the 2, whatever you want. You can go, here you are at the 5, right? That's another thing. You can go to the minor 5, just make it major. Make it major, make it a 7th even. So many options, but there you go. We'll have maybe we'll talk about the flat 2 and then have a recap, hopefully. I'm looking forward to that.